I'm moving this weekend. Oh God, he's so loud. Since 2008, I've managed to have a separate room in whatever house or flat I was living in to use for work. You going out, Alps? Everyone's making a f***ing noise today. What's going on? You go out there then. Good girl. It always works out far more affordable to pay a little bit more rent versus renting an office space or some kind of shared working space or something like that. Before 2008, I would always just have a desk or a table wedged into the corner of a bedroom or in a shared living room or something like that. And that worked for a while, that was absolutely fine. But it got to the point with my freelance work and making music where I needed to have a dedicated space. This room is by far the largest and loveliest space I've been able to have so far. Tim and I moved in here 3.5 years ago, and it was a big draw to have this attic room that I could use as a studio. Just over a year ago, I decided to face my fears about home decorating and choosing colours, and I just got stuck in. I learned how to paint walls, I learned how to change light fittings, I properly reorganised and redecorated the space, creating different zones for different activities. For the first time ever in my life, I've made a room reflect me. I feel like my personality is mirrored in this room, and it's a really wonderful feeling. I honestly never thought that just painting some walls myself could have such a profound effect on what a space feels like, but of course it does. This room's looked this way for about a year, and it's been just such a beautiful space to spend my time in. So why on earth would I give that up? Good question. Well, you may have heard of a little something called COVID-19, and that meant that my absolutely wonderful best friend, love of my life husband, Tim, started working from home in the room that's just there. And that's great. I love working from home. I think if you would like to work from home and you are able to do so, then I highly recommend it. I don't love being around loads of other people. Whenever I was working in offices and things, I found it very distracting when people were there talking all day and being loud, and I wasn't able to think and do my job. So for the past 2 full years, we've shared a wall. And actually we've got on brilliantly, but it's just in the last few months, probably because I'm doing a lot more of this sort of thing. Plus all of the other things I do require a lot of cognitive work. Video editing, writing, music, writing words, puzzling things out, planning things. I need a lot of quiet, and I'm used to being the only person working from home. And I love him so much. He knows all this. I wouldn't be telling you if I hadn't already had this discussion with Tim. You could probably put anyone in that room there, and it would be the same. I don't think Tim has a particularly loud voice. It's just that he has a voice, and his job requires being on the phone a lot, doing meetings a lot, and he needs to be able to do his work. I have no problem with that. I want him to have everything, all the tools, space, time, whatever he needs to do his work, and then to do the things outside of work that he loves. I support him in all things. But it's been trying, which is why this next thing is happening. I'm aware I'm fortunate that I have a room of my own. I do know that not everyone has access to this, so if you're someone who needs some space to yourself, but you don't have a whole room, all is not lost. Austin Kleon is one of my favourite writers and thinkers of the day, and I highly recommend his trilogy, Steal Like an Artist, Show Your Work, and Keep Going. Brilliant books. I'll put links below to those books and to a blog post he wrote about this very thing, which was the idea of having a Bliss Station. He got it from Joseph Campbell, so I'll read you the quote. "You must have a room or a certain hour or so a day where you don't know what was in the newspapers that morning, you don't know who your friends are, you don't know what you owe anybody, you don't know what anybody owes to you. This is a place where you can simply experience and bring forth what you are and what you might be. This is the place of creative incubation. At first you may find that nothing happens there, but if you have a sacred place and use it, something, eventually, will happen." That's a quote from The Power of Myth by Joseph Campbell, most well known for his work on the hero's journey, but that's a whole other video. In this blog post, Austin says, "My wife pointed out to me that Campbell says that you must have a room or a certain hour. Whether Campbell really meant this or not, she suggested that maybe it's possible that a bliss station can be not just a where, but a when. Not just a sacred space, but also a sacred time. Say you have a tiny apartment that you share with small children. There's no room for your bliss station. There's only time. When the kids are asleep or at school or daycare, even a kitchen table can be turned into a bliss station. Or say your schedule is totally unpredictable and a certain time of day can't be relied upon. That's when a dedicated space that's ready for you at any time will come in handy. Kids, jobs, sleep, and 1,000 other things will get in the way, but we have to find our own sacred space, our own sacred time. In 2005, I moved into a tiny bedroom in a flat in Lavender Hill. I mean tiny. There was a double bed squeezed sideways on at the end of the room, and then there was a little clothes rail at the other end. I somehow managed to fit a 5x5 IKEA Kallax shelving unit sideways up, and on the other side I had just a folding table that I had my laptop on and a very small audio interface, and in the morning I would get out of bed and shimmy through this tiny space to get to my clothes, and my work desk was in the living room, which I'm sure was very inconvenient for everybody, including myself. I was just getting started then, so what mattered was not having loads of space but just having a little workstation that was where I did things. So underneath that folding table I had a little stool that I would pull out, sit at my little table and work on the very first demos I ever made, and that's what got me started. A Bliss Station could be a simple wooden tray that has your notebook and a pen next to it, and every time you go to that tray you know that you're going to be working on your novel. Maybe it's not a tray at all, maybe it's just that between 8 and 9 PM when your children are in bed you sit at the kitchen table and you work on something, and if nothing comes out of that hour or half an hour or however long you've got, then you still sat there and you took that time for yourself, and you deserve that time, and you never know what's going to come out of it, and you never know if you're just composting an idea for the next time you sit down. So how about that? How about a tray with your stuff on? How about a time of day that's yours? 15 minutes, half an hour, an hour. I really think you deserve that. Now I am fortunate enough to have this space and it's been really good to me. I've made so much stuff in here. 2 albums, 50 episodes of a podcast, loads of videos, loads of blog posts and email newsletters and all of that good stuff. But what else could I make if I just had a little bit more space and a little bit more quiet? And so I'm moving this weekend. Downstairs. Come with me and I'll show you. As you can see, it's a much bigger space. There are 2 windows that look out onto the garden, which is going to be lovely to have extra light coming into the room. This room has carpet as well, which will help to deaden the sound. And I haven't measured everything yet, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to fit a little post office in one of the corners. I'm excited. I have some work ahead of me. I have to disassemble everything in here, disassemble everything downstairs, and then swap it over. I've got my priorities right though. I've already picked out the paint colours for the ceiling and the walls, and watched several very helpful YouTube videos about how to paint ceilings, because I've never done that before. This afternoon I'm going to measure the new studio and order the paint. Then I'm going to measure all of the pieces of furniture in the Launchpad, so I can use the measurements from the new studio with the measurements of all of the bits up here to make a scale plan of how things are going to be laid out. I've drawn so many different little sketches with ideas, and of course none of them are to scale, so I can't get any sense of what's possible. I'm still thinking in terms of zones for different activities. I'll just have a lot more space to sort of put my elbows out and move around. And like with anything, I'm impatient for it to be done right now so I can picture it in my head. But I also do remember how much fun it was to create the Launchpad as it is now, just by doing a little bit at a time. So my priority will be to set up a workstation area straight away so I can keep doing the stuff I need to do, and then around that be rejigging things, starting to paint, and yeah, I'm really excited about making this new vision come to life and just seeing what I can create in there that I couldn't create in this room. I'm feeling very fortunate to have the space to be able to do this, very, very fortunate, and thankful to my wonderful husband for not only having the idea at the same time as me, but for immediately saying that we should do it and we should just do it straight away. If this room wouldn't be a nice bedroom for us, then I wouldn't have agreed to it, but I think it actually makes a lot more sense for peaceful sleeping with a lovely sloping roof, and when it's raining we'll hear it patter on the window, and it's probably a little bit annoying for him being next door to this as well. So I just think it's a brilliant idea all round, and I'm really looking forward to making it a reality. Now, I've got an appointment with the tape measure, so I'll see you next week.